Jesus is laid in the tomb. It talks about this in John chapter 19, verse 38. It says, "Afterward, Joseph of Arimathea, who had been a secret disciple of Jesus because he feared the Jewish leaders, asked Pilate for permission to take Jesus' body down. When Pilate gave him permission, he came down and took the body away. Nicodemus, a man who had come to Jesus at night, also came, bringing about 75 pounds of embalming ointment made from myrrh and aloes. Together they wrapped Jesus' body in a long linen cloth with the spices, as it is the Jewish custom of burial. The place of crucifixion was near a garden, where there was a new tomb, never used before. And so, because it was the day of preparation before the Passover, and since the tomb was close at hand, they laid Jesus there. Early Sunday morning, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb and found the stone that had been rolled away from the entrance. She ran and found Simon Peter and the other disciple, and the one whom Jesus loved. She said, 'They have taken away the Lord's body out of his tomb, and I don't know where they have put him.' Peter and the other disciple ran to the tomb to see. The other disciple outran Peter, and he got there first. He stooped and looked in and saw the linen cloth lying there, but he didn't go in. Then Simon Peter arrived and went inside. He also noticed the linen wrappings lying there, while the cloth that had covered Jesus' head was folded up and lying to the side. Then the other disciple also went in. He saw and believed, for until then they hadn't realized that the scripture said he would rise from the dead. Then they went home." What really makes the resurrection of Christ ratified is that the women were the ones who first saw him, saw the open tomb. And it was their testimony that basically started to bring all the other disciples to see Jesus. And what's really amazing is at that time, in biblical times, women's testimony was not valid in court, and the women weren't respected and given as much of a voice as they are in today's society in that way. So that the Bible would record that women saw the resurrection of Christ, it would actually be counterintuitive if they were trying to make up a believable story. But the reality is, this is how it actually happened historically, and it makes it even more believable because this wasn't culturally accepted. You see, what's amazing is that Jesus already told the disciples that he would rise from the dead, yet they were surprised, and they didn't really understand until they saw him. For example, in John chapter 2, Jesus said, "Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up." What they exclaimed, "It take 46 years to build this temple, and you can do it in 3 days?" But his temple, Jesus meant his body when he said this temple. Afterward, when he was raised from the dead, the disciples remembered that he had said this, and they believed both Jesus and the scriptures. It's cool. We see Nicodemus again. Remember, we met him in John chapter 3. Remember, he asked Jesus about being born again, and here he is at Jesus' burial, and he's supporting financially Jesus' burial. It's also really cool. There's a race between Peter and John to get to the tomb, and John wins the race.